Start. Okay, the time being 10:35, we'll get started. So today's agenda, I think we have the agenda in front of us. We're going to get an overview of tax expenditure review by Jennifer Ramsey of the Tax Policy Council, DRA. And then we will review two aspects of the of that list. One is the CTE Center credit, and then the Research and Development Tax Credit. And just to give a quick summary, last year we did the I'm sorry, okay, 2 years ago we did Economic Revitalization Zone, Coas County Job Creation, Community Development, Finance Authority, Insurance Tax, and the credit carryover. And the year before that, Education Scholarship Tax Credit. So I believe, and we need to review these once, at least once every 5 years. Each item needs to be looked at. And so it looks to me like that's why we only have these two left, the CTE and the Research and Development. Okay, having said that, I guess what we need to do formally is just to elect a chair. I, as the first listed House member, kick the meeting off. Okay, Representative Ullery, would you like to make a motion?
You know what you're doing. I'll be in charge.
Okay. Second. Thank you. All in favor?
I
Okay.
That was really difficult.
That was nice. Okay.
We got it.
So you, okay. So I'll be chair again, and then I make a motion that Representative Ullery be the clerk.
Second.
Do I get more money for that?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Nay.
Thank you. 2-1. We overrule you. Okay. And I believe we need to, we'll have a report done by November 1st. Okay, so let's start with Jennifer Ramsey. If you would come up and introduce yourself and give us an overview, we'd appreciate it.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Jennifer Ramsey. I am Tax Policy Counsel for the Department of Revenue Administration. As I think you all are aware, the purpose of the committee is to review periodically the tax credits against the business profits and business enterprise taxes in New Hampshire, because the philosophy is that a credit against revenue that would otherwise be received is akin to an expenditure. And so this group is to look at that and make any recommendations about changes that are needed. So per your directive, two are up for review today. As you said, the career and technical education tax credit, as well as the research and development tax credit. And I believe everybody has a copy of the department's tax expenditure and potential liability report. We do this once a year in December, and this provides you with some information about each of the credits, as well as what those credits might be reducing the state's revenue for each of them. So the career and technical education credit information can be found on page 13. This credit allows donors to make donations to career and technical education centers and to receive a credit for up to 100% of that donation against only their business profits tax. This credit is not carried forward from year to year. It is limited by 25% of each taxpayer's tax liability, so they cannot claim a credit for more than a quarter of their tax liability. There is an aggregate limit for this credit, which is administered by the Department of Education. The aggregate limit is $500,000. The department, in the event it received more eligible donations than that amount, would prorate the credit across the donors. That event has not occurred in the history of the credit. It's been around since 2019. The legislature just extended it last session in SB 98 so that it now is set to expire fiscal year 2031. And we don't have at this time enough participants for me to be able to report the financial details related to the credit. Would you like me to pause there?
Well, yes, that's an interesting statement because what does that mean when you say we don't have enough? I mean, isn't the $500,000 oh, no, it's not necessarily divided up. It depends what they,
Right. So,
Yeah.
so there have not been enough donations up through this last fiscal year for the aggregate limit to apply. So anyone who's claiming the credit who has tax that they owe is able to take the donation right now up to 25% of the amount of their tax liability.
okay, so how high did we go? Do we have that number?
It has varied a lot year to year. I haven't seen a year that was more than 65% of the aggregate.
Questions?
I guess I would like to get an email that shows what it has been over at least the last 5 years.
Yeah, so we are constrained under 21J to not be able to provide details if there's less than 10 taxpayers at the state level. I
I
can,
don't care who it is. I
Right.
just want to know the upper number, so.
Yep. Yep. I can see what I can provide. I'll go back and look.
And if I don't get it, I will ask when I get to be at my chair of finance. So,
I will send you an email one way or the other, and if I am able to give you the detail
Yep.
you're looking for, I will.
Representative Ulrich.
Yeah, following up on what the senator said, may I suggest that just a bar chart of the total amount of money expended would avoid all of the J restrictions.
Let me see what I can do. Yeah.
Okay,
just, yeah, just as a philosophy thing, I mean, this last budget year was very rough, okay? And so we need to know how much we're giving out in money, or so that, because we're not collecting that, because it's money another department or whatever can't spend.
Absolutely.
So again, I just trying to stay.
Yeah, and again, as I said, in the years since this credit has been in place, the most I've seen in a given year would be 65% of that aggregate amount, so like $350,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay.
If I can get more detail to you, I will.
I would like it over the 5 years.
The history. Yeah.
Yeah.
The constraint that we have as a department is that if giving you the number for a given year if there was only one taxpayer in that year, then you would know what that taxpayer's information was. So I need to go back and look. Typically, our statistical information policy, I know you don't know, but if someone were hearing it, that's the constraint.
So are you saying in each year, if there's less than 10, you can't even tell us the total?
That's our department interpretation of the RSA that constrains us, is that if it's less than 10 taxpayers, we start to risk by publishing a number that we are potentially inadvertently disclosing a taxpayer's information.
If that's the case, why do we have any tax credits at all?
Oh, well, for the rest of these, you're well in excess of 10% of the 10 taxpayers. So this is sort of a unique case.
I'll reiterate what the senator said. Our job is to look at where the money's going and whether or not these work. And if we don't have any numbers, we can't do that job.
I appreciate that.
All right, well.
Just,
Senator.
just to, say it in a different way. If there is 10 or less people taking advantage of this, then it may not be something that we want to continue because it's not doing what it's, trying to do. So Again, knowing those numbers, whether it's here or in some executive session, or whether, you know, the commissioner whispers in my ear or whatever,
Yep, I think you can infer based on the statements that I'm making that it's less than 10 taxpayers and less than $350,000 in any given year. And if I can get you more detail, I will. I sincerely understand why you're asking, and I will do my best.
And was that 65% unusual? Or is that, you know, I know you said it's a
Yep,
cap. but
that
is
was a big year for the credit.
Do you remember when that was roughly? Was that 2 years ago? 1
Now,
year?
now I feel like I'm getting dangerously close to violating our statistical disclosure policy. So but respectfully, let me go back and see what I can
Okay,
do.
thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to say about this item?
No.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Yeah.
No? Seeing none? Okay.
So would you like to move to the research and development tax credit?
Yes.
So this one, I have data for you on page 9. This credit has been around for a while. The last 5 years of data are on the bottom of page 9. This is a credit that allows businesses to take a deduction against the BPT, and any unused BPT credit can be taken against the BET. Research and development expenses are primarily wages associated with employees, and it's the excess of the expense over and above a base amount, which is calculated under an IRC provision, which essentially the goal is to make sure that it is in excess of what was already being spent in the last few years. What is available for a credit is what additional spending is happening. The credit was limited initially to, I believe, $1 million per fiscal year. That has been steadily increased. It is currently $7 million a year in aggregate. This credit is administered by DRA, and it is prorated with that upper aggregate amount in mind. The aggregate hasn't been reached yet, but you can see based on the progression from fiscal of 2020 to fiscal 2024, we are getting close. And it may be that if the aggregate amount is not increased, we would start prorating that as early as this fiscal year 26. There were 271 taxpayers in fiscal 24 that were claiming the credit. This credit can be carried forward for up to 5 years. And there was a bill proposed in the last legislative session to increase this to $10 million and an individual aggregate of $100,000 that had a hearing in the Senate, did not receive a lot of opposition, but obviously the budget being what it was, it did. The bill was laid on the table at the end of the session.
Okay. Thank you. I currently have an LSR in to try that again, to raise it to 10 million, but raising the 50,000 limit per company to 100,000, and not having the time advantage of seeing how revenues will come in by the time we see that bill in January. I put it in, and we'll have to see, you know, what happens. Questions? Okay, seeing none. Is there anything that Senator or Representative Ulrich, anything that you would like to have Jennifer go over on the other credits, or are you good with these two? I mean, we obviously reviewed the other ones, as I said. We've reviewed them all except for these two, I believe, in 23 and 24. So within the last 2 years, we've reviewed everything. I don't know if that implies next year we may not have to do anything with this committee, but we're doing good. All right.
If there's
Yes.
one additional item I could add, not on your agenda, but we do this year have a new Granite Patron of the Arts credit. We also are reporting in the tax expenditure report on a couple of things that are not listed in the statute. It might be time to maybe look at the statute that requires what credits we report on and maybe update the list of which credits you'd like to see in the tax expenditure report
So that's a new one as of this year.
as of this year. Yep, it went
What's
into it.
called again? Did you
It's
get
the Granite Patron of the Arts tax credit, and it went into effect July 1st of this year. There's, like I said, there are several others that we're reporting on sort of on our own, but the statute doesn't list them. And so if this group wanted to just look at what's in the statute and what you want us to be reporting on, if we're giving you more than you want, the right amount, any guidance you want to provide in the RSA itself would be, I'd be happy to work with you on that.
And I believe that was House Bill 2 stuff, wasn't it?
The Granite Patron of the Arts tax credit, yes, was in HB2.
Just to refresh the memory, because we did away with the commission and the funding there, we were trying to provide a way that they would be able to get some funds.
And what is the limit on that? How does that work?
Ooh, now you're going to test my memory. It is donations to the DNCR Division of the Arts or the Arts Council. 50% of those donations can be taken by the taxpayer as a tax credit. I believe the aggregate limit is $500,000, but I can double check on that and let you know for sure.
Okay. And
You
obviously,
put that in the same email.
Will
Yeah.
do.
that'd be great. And that obviously needs to, well, you said July 1st it started. So,
It's already in effect.
yeah,
Yep.
but we have no,
We won't have any
history yet
data
of
on that
its-
for a little while, but
okay.
yeah.
Good. Anything else? Yes, Representative Ullery.
Has DRA put in rules for the
We're-
administration of that yet?
No, we've got our forms drafted. We're working on rulemaking. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we will go on to the CTE Center Credit, New Hampshire Department of Education. So please come forward, introduce yourself, and tell us all about it. I get the name.
Hit the button for the red light. There you go.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Chrissy Vanderhook. I am the administrator
I'm gonna
for the
get that
Bureau
name.
of Career Development,
Chrissy Van
and I
Dyke.
oversee the Office of Career and Technical Education. So I'm here to.
Excuse me.
Yes,
Yes. Christie?
Chrissy? Yes.
Chrissy.
Chrisssy.
Vanderhook.
Vanderhook, 2 words.
Okay.
I
And
hope
you
it's
are,
Van Hook.
Vander and then Hook. Sorry.
Now, that's not Dutch.
I married into it.
and I'm sorry, your title again?
Administrator for the Bureau of Career Development.
Just want to make sure my clerk has it all correct here.
Certainly.
Minister for Career Development. As long as you give Albert money, that's fine.
All right.
All of
thank
our
you.
CTE centers are getting their funds, I promise. So in the Bureau of Career Development sits the Office of Career and Technical Education, and so that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. New Hampshire Career and Technical Education, which is referred to as CTE colloquially, serves we have 26 secondary CTE centers and 7 post-secondary centers, which are held in the all of our CCS and H campuses statewide. We provide workforce development across 18 industry sectors, and our programs are supported by close collaboration with industry partners, which
Excuse me, I'm
Yes, sir.
going to stop you for a minute. Do you have that testimony for us later, or can you get us a copy of it?
I can certainly get you a copy of it.
Okay, rather than having
I
Representative Ullery.
So I apologize. This is my first opportunity to present in such a meeting, so I'm happy to get that to you. I was not aware.
Okay.
Yeah,
No
no
problem.
problem.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. So our programs are supported by close collaboration with industry partners, which is how this RSA came about. All of our CTE students, secondary and post-secondary, have access to work-based learning within their programs. Industry partners work with CTE programs in such a way that they provide both in-school and out-of-school internships, work-based learning opportunities. They also supply on-site hands-on opportunities at their job sites, and they often will provide as well donations of employee time, salaries to students who are working in their employ, as well as materials such as large welding machines, dental chairs, etc. So those are the things for which they can apply for this tax credit. Our industry partners report to the Career and Technical Education Center, to which they are donating time or materials on a monthly basis. That is reported to the department, and we submit our report annually. So some of those things that you were asking about just a few minutes ago will go to this week. We have our annual report that will go to the President of the Senate, Speaker of the House, Chairperson of the Senate Ways and Means Committee, Chairperson of the House Ways and Means Committee. I will say that for fiscal year 25, we did see a decrease of approximately 48% year over year, and part of that was due to some staffing changes at our CTE centers and folks making sure that we're continuing, to make our industry partners and our CTE center folks, who are the collectors of that information, aware of this program and to continually push that forward. However, we did see a decrease in 25 over the FY24 numbers. Again, that report will be sent this week to those individuals. And that is a brief summary of where we stand with from our office. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Question. Representative Ulrich.
Yes, thank you. As I mentioned earlier, I represent Alvin in Hudson, which is a magnet type CTE. And know that works because several of the companies have come around, like Chase Steel, for example. Mm-hmm. The question I have is, the CTE program, does that extend into the community colleges? Because Nashua is putting in essentially a associate level CTE program for air traffic control, engine maintenance, etc., which their presentation was very strong last week.
So the way that our programs are set up, we as a department receive Perkins allocation annually from the federal government, which is workforce development, particularly set aside for CTE programs. Our Perkins recipients from the state include those 26 secondary centers, and CCSNH also receives an allocation with those funds, and so they do receive CTE funding at a system level, and then they determine how to utilize that across their campuses. Does that answer your question?
No. Could you just kind of make it a little more simple for me, please?
So your question was around a particular associate's degree program. I cannot.
Not a particular.
Oh, yeah.
But do programs like that?
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
That was simplified.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything
They
else?
can. I don't know that they do. I don't see the part where they do. To be clear. Yeah.
Well, they were asking for extra money, and I'm just trying to say you've already got this methodology. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, in terms of getting this information to us, I guess you don't necessarily have the list of who's on this committee. So you could email it to me. Do I have cards on me? No.
The individual who sent us the agenda, can I send that?
Yeah.
Send it to them?
Yes.
Okay.
That would be Jennifer.
Jennifer Four.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she can take
Okay,
it in.
we'll get
and
it to her.
Get it to us. Okay.
Any further questions?
I think we're good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Well, moving right along, we'll go on to the research and development tax credit.
Good morning. Thank you for the committee for having me. I will be submitting testimony afterwards, so make sure.
Thank you.
Okay. My name is Mark Low Liberty. I am a business development manager over at BEA. Part of my job is business recruitment, expansion, and retention. And I have a statement here from BEA in regard to the R&D tax credit program. BEA promotes the R&D tax credit as part of its business recruitment, expansion, and retention efforts. New Hampshire competes with businesses for states that have huge tax credit programs, including 38 states that have R&D tax credits. Despite this, New Hampshire remains competitive because of everything else the state brings to the table, such as its low tax environment. As a result, we have seen a positive scale of economic growth during the past 8 years. It is the prerogative of the legislature to make funding judgments on a statewide scale, so BEA has no firm opinion on the level or value of the credit. However, BEA believes having even a little more than what's in the current R&D program would give the state a more powerful tool to use, as BEA increasingly works with companies doing research and innovation in sectors like life sciences, aerospace and defense, and advanced manufacturing. It would send a strong signal to these employers that the state wants them here. BEA is happy to be a part of this conversation, and I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
Representative Ulrich.
Couple of contradictory things there. One, you said you're not going to take a position, and then, but
I know.
preceding that, you took a position.
This is a statement from BEA. My feeling is this: obviously, the legislature is going to make a determination on how it's going to move forward. We will promote it, however, at what level it is. And so, for our mindset is what it is right now. If it is what it is, we will promote it as it is. If there is more, we will promote it more.
Okay, that was my question too. So I'm glad yes, follow up.
In your first statement, which was saying that it has made an impact.
Mhm.
Do you have any subjective information on that?
So
Or
some
objective information.
I think what you're seeing more and more businesses coming into the state. I think Salem is a good example of a lot of areas where businesses are coming in, and the businesses that are coming in, such as Analogics, I'm not saying they're getting the credit. We do not know who has the credit, and we are not privy to that, who gets the credit. That's done at DRA. But the types of companies coming in to New Hampshire, coming in, particularly in the southern New Hampshire area, in the 93 and the Route 3 corridor, and also into the Seacoast and the Hanover area, are the types of companies that would be taking advantage of these types of credits. So,
Well, that begs the next question.
okay.
You don't know who's receiving the credits.
Mhm.
You also, but do you know how many employees they have? Well, let's put it this way. You know the type of work that they're performing.
Mhm.
You know roughly how many employees they have.
Not necessarily. I think that's the
10
challenge.
to 1 to 10, 10 to 20, that
Mhm.
type of broad spectrum type, granular information.
What we have basically is the numbers that we get. Like I said, BEA's primary role in this is the promotion of the credit itself. And my role in that would be that from the most recent data that we have in, say, the past 3 years, 151 companies requested the maximum amount of the credit, whereas 97 requested numbers that are less to that. So to us, that's a 60-40 ratio that would suggest that about the 60% of them are larger type companies that are utilizing the credit, where 40 might be the smaller 1 to 10 startups, spin outs from colleges and universities, that sort of thing. And that's kind of a rough estimate that we would use to say these are the types of companies utilizing it.
Okay, that is useful.
Mhm.
That tells if we're arguing for
Yep.
or arguing against,
Mhm.
you have a general range of information
Yes.
that's available.
Mhm.
So if we're arguing for continuation, not reduction, or maybe even expansion of these credits,
Yep.
the next step is, are they generating tax revenue?
Mhm.
Do we have that information anywhere?
That would have to come from DRA on that. That's not something that we would
And
necessarily
we
have.
can't get that.
Well, that'd be up to them. Though now, one thing I could say is you do have the life science industry speaking after this, and they probably can give you some anecdotal information of the types of companies that are coming in, that are becoming members. I can't give you the exact numbers of that, but
We're not looking for exact numbers. We're
Yeah.
looking for spectrum.
I can look in to see what I can get on that. Again, I will follow up and see what we can get in terms of, do we have a general idea of the number of employees coming in on that, based on this tax credit? I can't guarantee that, but I will look into that, and then other data that might help facilitate that above and beyond that data in terms of revenue, investment, so on and so forth. I will look into that.
Thank you.
Senator, no further questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jennifer, did you want to respond to anything there, or?
I'm not sure particularly what information, in addition to what we've provided, it is that you're looking for from DRA on that one.
Well, I think Representative Mueller, you were saying you'd like to know, you saying the average number of employees of a company that's,
Yeah.
and do we have that information?
Average number of employees.
No, that's the average number of employees. No, but in order to determine whether or not these tax credits work, whether it's in life sciences or any place else, there needs to be some objective standard that says we give $1 credit here, we get $3 in increased business, and at the same time we get $2 in tax. That's just numbers, not specifically a ratio or anything.
Sure.
We don't have that information. There are people on both sides of our committee that are sitting there going, they don't work. Because there's no information that proves that they work.
You're looking for the potential economic upside to granting a credit. That would be, I think that would probably be more of a industry request or BEA. What we would have is the information on who took the credit and the amount that was taken, which we summarized for you in the tax expenditure report. We wouldn't know those kinds of details about the businesses that are claiming them.
Well, not necessarily the employees, but the number of employees relates to a BPT, BET split. Right now, we're sitting there going, yeah, tax credits work. Well, show me. Yeah, tax credits work.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think they have that information.
Yeah, that
There's
I again, I
has
understand
to
the what you're looking for. It's just that all we're doing is collecting and administering the tax. So that would be more of an economic development type of question. And we would administer any credit. We don't have no position on this. We just are. We can get you the data of what the economic impact in terms of loss of revenue for the state is, which is in the tax expenditure report.
Yeah, that, obviously that wouldn't answer.
Yeah,
his
I
question.
know. I
But,
think that economic development piece of it is probably going to need to come from a different agency.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Good morning. How are
Good
you?
morning.
You probably saw me getting antsy back there because I'm eager to answer your questions, and I think I have the information that can help you in your assessment. My name's Andrea Hechevarria. I'm the president and CEO of New Hampshire Life Sciences. Some of you may be more familiar with our organization than others. We are fairly new, about 18 months old. We formed in late 2023 to support the growing life sciences sector in the state of New Hampshire. Life sciences is one of 4 priority growth sectors across the state. We're seeing enormous growth, largely in part because of what our state does, that live for your die ethos, the economic development that we've seen, that we've witnessed. And we're also seeing a lot of migration into the state. We formed with some of the largest life science companies in the state, from Lonza to Novacure to Millipore Sigma to Nova Nordis in West Lebanon. And today I'm happy to share with you we're 50 plus members, several in Salem. We see that as an exciting sector. The R&D tax credit is critical for industries like ours because, as you know, so much of the R&D happens when you're a young company, just a startup, and you need that credit to offset your commercial development because it's a decade probably until you're commercially viable. You have to get FDA approval, and once you're approved, then you have to go through CMS to get reimbursement. So the R&D tax credit for an industry like sciences is absolutely critical to bring through novel therapies and technologies that are the next patient cure. We worked with Lindsay Stepp at Department of Revenue to provide some additional information because New Hampshire Life Sciences was a critical supporter of the SB 276 last cycle. So I think what you're looking for, sir, is that match, that for every dollar you put in, you're going to get this revenue. What Jen said, the state doesn't track that, but what they do have, and we've provided it in our package, is you can see the wage growth over 10 years. So you can see that for these companies that have put in, when the credit first started in 2008, there were 71 applicants. In 20
Excuse me, do we have that piece of paper or is that?
Yes, it should be, yeah, it should be with
Oh.
you.
Okay.
And then if you look in 2024, we had 248 applicants. And you can see the qualified wages have grown exponentially. In 2008, the qualified wages were 112,000. In 2024, they were $632,000. So it is frustrating. I share with you that frustration that the state doesn't track this in something that's black and white. But if you take a peek at the numbers that the DRA does provide, you can see its importance and you can see the growth. We're advocating in the last cycle there for an increase to the credit because what we're finding, and it's what Mark alluded to, is that the credit is so popular, it basically gets rationed. So in my written testimony I provided for you, I think it was the last year we had numbers for, it was oversubscribed by about $4 million, meaning companies in our membership that apply for that $50,000 credit are lucky if they get half of that. And in 2025, that $20,000, $15,000 is not going to help you move the needle much. So we have put in legislation to increase that, not only the overall bucket, but that individual cap to make it more incentivizing and honestly, more effective for the R&D tax credit. So we've submitted some of those information as well as the written testimony and some additional background information. The other thing I will say just on the life science sector generally, so you understand the importance of it, we are growing, our life science industry in New Hampshire is growing at 28%. That's our employment growth. That is the fastest in the nation. And that's not me saying that, that's Bio out of Washington, D.C., which is the world's largest biotech trade association. New Hampshire is number one. We're at 28%. We have to keep investing and strategically looking at policies like this to boost that innovation even more. For R&D tax credits, especially in a state like New Hampshire, you're not going to see some of the largest companies taking advantage of that because they are able to offset some of that. This is important for the young companies and the startup companies that we need in New Hampshire to boost more economic development. So you're going to see it more used in the early stage to mid-size companies. And let me pause there for any questions.
Well, one question, you just said that New Hampshire has grown by 28%. Is that over 1 year, the last year?
Since 2019.
It's 2019.
And I'm happy to, that report is not, it is referenced in my written testimony, but I'm happy to submit to you the report that says that.
Okay, and what, do we know why that is? I mean, that sounds great. I'm glad to
Yeah.
hear New Hampshire's doing well.
It's because the growth of the industry. I mean, look at our companies. They're constantly hiring. Lonza is close to 2,000 employees now in Portsmouth. Nova Nordisk has hired, I think they've doubled their employment in 5 to 7 years. Novacure is at 300 employees. We have young companies coming in. University of Manchester, the Biotech Innovation Center, that is with startup companies. The industry is growing. We're working really closely with the University of New Hampshire and our academic partners to support a talent pipeline to capture some of that growth. And it's because of the state's business-friendly policies and the smart way of how we look at economic development that is incentivizing that growth. And this credit becomes a critical part of that. And even the state, you might remember this, it's a couple of years old now, but in 2023, the state of New Hampshire, the Department of Business and Economic Affairs, released an assessment on life sciences. It was the first of its kind. And that's what made people's eyes open about the growth of life sciences, because there's 600 plus companies in New Hampshire that fall under the category of life sciences. 30% are in medical device and manufacturing. And then we've got about 26% in pharmaceutical manufacturing. And then it goes on to R&D, diagnostics. It's significant. And also within the state's report, it mentioned policies and things that we can do to further incentivize that growth. And the R&D tax credit was number one on that list.
Okay. Questions?
Why are you looking at me?
Oh, you've had a lot today, so I'm looking over here.
Well, that's only because the circles I work in like to ask questions. And if it's not black and white,
Okay.
Yes, and I let me tell you, I share with you that frustration. We know that the last cycle, the budget cycle, was really challenging. When we get that, so when you're looking at something to be black and white, you're going to push the R&D tax credit aside. You cannot look at it like that, because I don't think really there's any state that is able to track that dollar for dollar that you're looking for. You have to look at it the lens of, is it growing wages? Is it growing applicants? Is it growing employees in New Hampshire? And there is information to support that.
Okay.
The other thing too that the fiscal note, I'll add this one piece, doesn't cover, this was also in my written testimony, is that while the state has issued $7 million in the credit each year, the actual impact on revenues is less than that, as unused credits can be carried forward for 5 years. So again, this is not something that can just be looked at on a spreadsheet. You have to think about how the policy is used and how that impacts revenues long term.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next on our agenda is to discuss next steps. Actually, I should just say, is there anyone who wants to say anything else before we? Okay, seeing none. Next steps. We've got these, this report is due by November 1st. We've got some information now that we'll be getting from CTE, from Chrissy Vanderhook, and then Jennifer, you'll be getting us some information from DRA. So the question now would be, once we get that information, we may have to have one more meeting to make final decisions. Or we can potentially, no, I guess we'd have to have one more meeting. Senator Gray.
Well, from the information that I've received, one of the recommendations would be that there was no change needed to the current ones that we reviewed this year. And if the report is going to say that, and then list the attachments that we're getting from all of these people, then I don't know that we do need another meeting. So
Okay, that's a good point. I guess, yeah, we can potentially vote on the fact that, how do you feel, Rob? If we agree that we don't think there should be any change here, and we'll get the information, because we already know some information. Although Jennifer Ramsey is going to get us any information she can get, she's already stated that 65% has been the maximum of the CTE so far. So there's no need to increase that. And the business development tax credit, we've heard information supporting a potential increase, but as I said, I've put a bill in for that already. So if that ends up passing, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But we can potentially vote on the fact that we think nothing should change.
Putting
Comments?
putting on my chair of finance hat, this is a particularly hard budget year, okay? And to change these credits right now, the way revenues are coming in, and revenues are coming in even below the projection, that, you know, certainly Health and Human Services, who got a $5 million back of the budget cut, and other things that are happening there with the changes in Medicare and Medicaid, and SNAP and everything. This is not going to be a year to do more that I can see in tax credits right now, because that does reduce my revenue and then causes me problems downstream.
Right. And
So,
and I'll just say again, one of the reasons I put this credit in is I believe it makes, for the R&D, the LSR, it makes sense. But at the same time, our LSR period ended September 19th. I don't have all the data by January, February, when we actually talk about this bill. We'll have a lot more data. We'll know what's going on. But I agree with you right now. It looks, revenues are not coming in at the rate we want them. Representative Ulrich.
They're not coming in as what we want them, yes, but they are coming in substantially. I was looking at the preliminary report the other day. It only shows, and I think, less than $20 million deficit at this point on paper.
Well, to that point, and I don't know if I may have sent an email to you, Jennifer. I'm trying to think who I replied to, but I'll have to look back. That latest report, or it might have been whoever sent the latest report. I agree. It shows about a $20 million deficit. However, it's $20 million deficit compared to 2025 revenues. And what I asked in my email is, I want to know what it is according to plan, because, okay, that's great to know, all that information is good, but we need to know the plan, because maybe it's only 5 million below plan right now. So anyways, I don't know if you have an answer to that.
I sent you a reply this morning, but you probably haven't seen it because
have
we're all
not.
here. So the report that you were talking about, the daily cash basis, does actually have the plan information over on the right-hand side. So for the month, we are looking at less than $10,000 below plan
Yeah.
through September, or just for September, and then fiscal year.
That's
Less than
Shay's
that.
report.
Sorry,
Chris Shay's report.
he does one also, but the one that I think Representative Janigian was asking about is the one we also send out a collections report, a cash collections report, and that does include the plan information as well. And I double checked this morning because today we got the last numbers for the month, and so that deficit will actually go down just a little bit based on
here it is. I'm
collections through
sorry.
today.
Okay, well,
Or
that's
through
that's
Friday.
important. So what you're saying is for September, to plan, we're only 10,000 below.
Yep.
$10,000.
Yep, it looks like we're going to finish about $10 million short. 10 million, not 10,000.
Oh, 10 million.
Yes.
10
Okay,
million.
yeah, you
Sorry
said
if I
10,000.
I
Okay.
misspoke. I apologize.
Well, it's
Yep.
10,000 on here, but it's 10,000 thousands.
Thousands,
Correct.
okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, so 10 million. So 20 million less than last fiscal year, but 10 million below plan for September, roughly.
And then that's pocket change.
Sorry.
Wow.
tell Health
It's-
and Human
it's-
Services that.
It's the other way around. It's looks like we're going to come in about 10 million below prior year, and then more like 15 million below plan for the month.
I found your report. You're talking at 95.9% of plan, which means we're off by 4.1%.
Which report are you looking at? Chris Shea's report?
No, yours.
Okay,
I found it. It was,
okay.
Is there one more day that's going to get factored into this? Or?
That's the updated numbers I was giving you. It's today's,
Is today the last day of?
so these reports have a lag, just to get the cash into
Right.
New Hampshire first. So it's through Friday is the last business day of the month. So today's reports will include the last business
last
day.
Friday.
Yeah.
Not October 3rd.
Correct.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It's a week. No, it's not.
So
a weekly report.
these reports come out daily. I checked this morning. Tomorrow's numbers will include through Friday, but I took a peek, so I can tell you what tomorrow's numbers are going to be, and that will
Said a
include the end of the
different
month.
way, the report data date is the last Friday in the month. And that anything past that, even if it's the 2 to 3 days here, will be included in the next report.
Okay, I didn't
Right.
realize it ended Friday.
Right.
Okay.
The report you have in front of you is one deposit day short of the full monthly number. And the full monthly number is what I just shared with you.
Okay.
for September.
And just to recap, you said so there's two numbers. One is how are we doing according to plan? What the other is how do we do compared to last fiscal year?
Correct.
And could you just state those again?
Yep, it's looking like we're going to come in a little more than $10 million below September of 2024, which is going to be about $15 million under plan. So we projected some growth over the prior year, and we're not seeing it.
Okay.
Yeah, but keep in mind, when you all were going through this process, we did project growth across the entire year, but the thought process during the revenue estimating was that we would see that growth towards the end of the year, but that the beginning of the year would probably be pretty flat.
That's a good point, because we didn't project it month by month. We projected it over the fiscal year and
Correct.
that,
So-
and that's to my point earlier about the LSR that I've submitted. I had to submit it by September 19th, but by the time we're actually looking at that as a House bill, it's going to be, 4 or 5 months from now.
Yeah, you'll have a half of year of revenue data by then.
Right. Okay. Anything else for Jennifer?
No.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so now back to our next steps. So do we all feel comfortable? Well, Senator Gray has already said how he feels. Representative Ullery, do you feel at this point there should be no change and that we can make that determination now? And we will just include any information we get in our report.
I'm hesitant to say that we should not make any change because I am of the opinion the tax credits actually are beneficial, so long as they don't exceed. So I would be cautiously optimistic and increase the tax credits, at least on the R&D area, not necessarily on the CTE section.
There's no point in increasing the CTE right now.
No,
Because they're not hitting
because
the
they've
limit.
they're
Not hitting the limit.
none, yeah.
But
But for the R&D, not just the life sciences, which is important, but there's a hypotherm up in Lebanon, as my friend, Representative Almy would say, is another growth industry. BA down in Nashua and in Hudson. I have a sneaky suspicion that unless somebody gets their that BAE will probably sustain pretty substantial growth, particularly if things get hotter in Asia or in Central Europe. That would apply also to companies like Flair down in Nashua and several others that deal with weapons of destruction. I
So
don't-
well,
I-
okay, so here's the other way we need to look at this. This report has to be done by November 1st or put out by November 1st. So we need to make a decision based on the information we have right now. And right now, we're running below revenue. So a recommendation, I would feel comfortable saying no change. My LSR is still going in.
Yeah.
Right? And so we'll have 4 or 5 more months.
and,
decide.
this report would have some impact on that, unless this report says
Well,
that there is a strong potential for increasing this.
Put that in the report.
That's what that's
Okay.
what I'm
We'll
trying to
make
get
a
at.
note.
When you're looking at page 9 of the report, I mean, you have some variation in how much, year to year, but you're really talking 5.35 up to 6.1 over a 4-year period. And your limit is 7. So, I mean, you're not, if you use the same logic you were before, that if I take that average increase, am I going to get to 7? Probably not. And 23 was a down year. I don't know why, but 24, we had the significant increase. But when you look back at the 20, 21, 22, and if you're going to put in a bill anyway, then right now, I think that the 7 is an adequate number.
Yeah, I would. Representative Ulrich, it sounds like you're fine, as long as I put the statement in that, given current conditions, we don't think there should be any change. Should revenues come in stronger, an increase in the R&D.
Yeah, and Senator Gray, I would just remind that 2020, 21, and 22, well, 2020 and 2021 were restricted growth years, artificially restricted growth years, while 22 was real growth. I don't know why it went down in 23. Maybe people are just figuring out that they overexpanded and had to cut down. But then you go from 5 to 6 in 2 years. That's a substantial growth. But yes, so long as we put that caveat in there, is that caveat all right with the senator?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you want to say something, Andrea?
I'm not quite sure where you're getting the 7 million is enough, because when we looked at this data, and again, I want to put some fresh eyes on it, but we went through this with a fine-tooth comb in preparation for the Senate bill. This credit is so oversubscribed, it's not working the best that it can. For our companies, and most of the companies go for the $50,000, they're lucky if they get half of that, because it's oversubscribed by several $1 million, which showcases that the overall cap needs to go up above 7.
Okay, I mean, based on your statements, that would make
Let's
sense,
get
except.
DRA
yeah,
up
we
at a
need
different
DRA.
microphone. I mean, I'm looking at her report, okay? Come on up to
Yeah.
the microphone on this spare
Yeah,
chair.
Jennifer, you can come over here.
We've got plenty of chairs, plenty of microphones.
And what we're looking at is, well, even if we look at fiscal year 2024, we're looking at a maximum there of, or not a maximum, but the number is 6.186. So
Yeah.
Jennifer, can you
I'm
explain?
looking at total request value.
So I can help clear it up. So there's a difference between the utilization of the credit and what Andrea is talking about, which is the grants of the credit in the first instance. So the aggregate limit applies to the total amount of credits granted, but the credit can be used against tax liability for 5 years, 5 subsequent years. So if you have a business that doesn't have enough revenue to claim the full credit, that credit will then get carried forward. So what I don't have, and what I'm hearing is the credit is oversubscribed. I think what she means is we would be getting more than $7 million in applications, meaning there's more than $7 million in spending for the taxable period. And we would be prorating the request for a credit based on the 7 million aggregate limit. That doesn't mean that 100% of what is granted in a given year gets used in the subsequent fiscal year.
Now, go ahead, Senator.
Well, looking at the chart on page 9, okay?
Yep.
I don't know when it went to 7 million, okay? But at 7 million for 24, we did not hit the limit.
You're-
And do you know what the limit was in 20 through 24, 3?
It has been $7 million for all of the years of the report. It went to $7 million in 2018.
And so in all of those years, the requests may have been higher, but the actual grants have never hit the limit.
The utilization has not been $7 million in any year since 2020, or I think before.
So what you're saying is the utilization, I mean, you may have hit 7 million, but what actually got used was 6.1 because some of those companies didn't make enough money to utilize it completely
Right.
after they had been granted it. I think that's the case.
Because they
Senator.
can
So
carry it forward,
it
which
might
you
have hit
can't
7
reflect.
million. But still, I think your general point still makes sense. Like in a tight fiscal year, given that we have to make a decision, within the next 30 days, we have to base it on what information we have right now. Right now, it'd be irresponsible to be increasing limits when revenues aren't coming in strong enough. However, as I said, we still have another 4 or 5 months to look at by the time we look at that new bill. So I think Representative Ullery's point of saying, we're not changing anything, but we do make note that the R&D tax credit could be potentially increased if revenues come in stronger. Yes.
All right. If someone does not use their credit and is going to carry it over into that 5-year period, where does that show up on the chart?
This does not break it out between the year of the grant versus the year of utilization. So your
So the
fiscal
total
20
grant was 6.18, okay? And some of it may be used this year, some of it may be used in up to 5 years. And so we've never hit the $7 million limit in the grants. And some of that money is outstanding, but it's,
Well-
I don't know that I can say we've never hit the $7 million number in the grant. We could have, for example, hit the $7 million.
since 2020, we haven't hit the 7 million.
The only thing I want to try to, if I'm not making it clear, let me try again. The only difference is that the grant is not the same as the utilization. So what you have here is the revenue impact to the state. So in fiscal 24, 6,186,000 was taken in credit against tax liability. That could be a combination of companies, some of whom are carrying forward credits from prior years, some of whom got that credit in that year. There could be credits that were granted in fiscal 24 that are going to be used in 25, 6, 7, 8. So the grant year is different than the utilization year. What I don't have for you, because I didn't know that we were going to look at it, is whether that aggregate limit is being applied to the grant. And I can definitely pull and bring for you.
I guess I would suggest that this report, you guys look at it because it's not giving me the whole picture.
Yeah. This is the cost to the state. But if you'd like the information about the grants, I can certainly bring that to you.
So when I look at fiscal year, 23 was 4.7. There's nothing, or any of these years, there's nothing in there that is from a previous year, a grant from a previous year. That's totally just that year.
So if you were to take fiscal 25 and the 4.7 million utilization,
Yeah.
that could be credits being utilized that were granted in prior fiscal years.
Oh, so that some of that 6.1 could be something granted in a previous year.
Correct.
Okay.
So
And you still didn't get to 7.
I need
Yeah.
that broken out. I need
Yep.
to know what the grants were in those years, what the utilization was in those years, and the outstanding for years 1 through 5 after that.
Okay.
You know,
All right. well,
that way I can get the proper picture.
Yeah.
I think if I would also add the total request value to that because I think that will give you the full picture. Because the chart that I have doesn't show that dynamic, which I think is important, further proves R&D tax credits not black and white. But if you look at from, in the blue chart here that has the summary, if you look at the total request value, basically it went from 2008 at 2.4 million to 2023 at 10 million. So I just don't know how those numbers weigh out if your total request value is $10 million, but the maximum you're able to provide is 7 million, and then showcase the dynamic of those that choose to utilize the credit in whatever year. It's very complicated.
Certainly, I have no problem with that number being there,
Right.
but the 7 million is a reflection of what I think we can afford as the state, and not necessarily, any of these ones that we're granting. A particular legislator said, I want to give money to this group, okay? And bypass the whole budget process by saying, okay, this is how much we're going to do. Well, I can't do that as chair of finance. I have to look at it all together. So I want to understand the numbers, but there is a limit that I say, well, that's as much as a priority for this particular organization that I can stand in the budget.
Okay. So I think, that's a good point, Senator Gray, and I think that additional information, should you be able to provide it, would be very helpful. I think it's still, our final conclusion, I think, is still the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you. All right, so make
Make a motion that the chair put together the report within the limits that we have discussed here and issue said report.
Okay, do we have a second from Senator Ulrich?
No, but I will. I
Well,
like
that's
being
nice
up
of you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, unanimous. That's what we will do. All right,
Okay.
so, next is adjourn, meeting adjourned. Right, thank you. All right, so basically, yeah, just, you can email that to me, Jordan, and